This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
No Nathan today, but do we have a stunt Nathan for you? Please welcome, sitting in Nathan's chair, the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. Albo, welcome back.
Albo, good to see you.
The improved Nathan.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
oh my God.
I know, and we've done up the
This
studio
could be
for
a
you as well.
permanent gig if politics doesn't work out.
Yeah, what do you reckon?
Hey, Albo, we at the start of the week, we did tell the listeners that we thought he might have had chicken pox, but then Nat threw in the possibility of these concussion. We put him in the concussion protocols.
He hasn't had a bump
Okay.
on the head. We just think it might be for the best.
What do you think?
Might
What do you think
be.
was more likely?
Oh, I reckon all of the above. Although you can't have late nights when you're
No,
doing this gig.
no,
So
we
can't.
live very
I would have
dull,
thought
boring
there
lives.
was a reasonable chance of a late night incident.
Oh, okay,
Where
yeah,
he
right.
bumped his head.
Bumped his
Yeah,
head.
because he was
yeah,
itchy
sure.
from chicken pox. Right,
That's right.
We've
It'll
linked
make
it all
sense.
So
together.
perhaps
It'll
it's
make
all
sense.
of the above.
Welcome back to Perth.
It's great to be here.
What are you back here for?
Visit number 20. I've got a big breakfast on this morning.
Yeah, that's right.
At Crown, there's 1,200 people.
Yeah, right.
Whoa.
So
It's a lot of bacon and eggs.
That is a substantial brekkie.
Yes.
And that will be good. I'm talking about the budget coming up next week, next Tuesday. And we've already done a whole lot of
So
announcements.
it used to be that budget night we found out what all the changes are going to be, but these days you tend to kind of trumpet it beforehand, don't you?
Yeah, well, it reflects
All the
change-
good stuff anyway.
The change in the media.
Yeah.
You know, now with the 24-hour media cycle, you've got to fill it, or other people fill it with speculation, which is
Yes.
nonsense. So you
Yeah,
may
right.
as well get,
Might as well
you
tell
may as
them.
well get it out there that's real.
So you have been flashing the cash a bit. So
Well, we've been making really sensible
Yeah.
changes that will make a difference to cost of living. There'll be more in next Tuesday's budget, but we've looked at ways. How do you do that without putting pressure on inflation? So one way that we've done is by knocking off $3 billion off the debt that students had for HECS.
Yeah.
And that makes an enormous
So
difference.
and you've
to
done that
people.
in the way that they're indexed to inflation,
That's right. So
yeah.
instead of it being inflation, which last year
Yes.
was high,
Yeah.
and hence had this big bump, we've got rid of last year, so we've backdated this,
Yeah.
so it's the lower amount of basically average wage increases or inflation, whatever is
Whatever's
the lower.
lowest, yeah,
so
right.
permanently, we're going to change it so you'll never get a bump like that again, and it will take $3 billion off the debt that people
Yeah.
had. In addition to that, what we're going to do is for some courses that we really need, like we need more teachers,
Yeah.
We
more
do.
nurses, more early childhood educators,
Yeah.
more social welfare workers helping women,
Yeah.
etc. We're going to pay the time that they do their compulsory prac.
That makes
It
sense
doesn't- it
because
doesn't make
they are
sense, yeah.
they are basically free labour. You know,
Exactly.
nurses especially. You know, student nurses in the hospitals provide a lot of service. So why shouldn't they be paid for it?
and we
they
want to
shouldn't have
encourage them to
yeah,
do the
they shouldn't have to
courses.
go into debt to get their
Well,
qualification.
The teachers are the same. My
Yeah.
son's mates are teachers, and they go in there and do their 10-week
and it's a
prac.
whole term,
And
yeah.
the teacher who they're filling in for is just at the back of the class with the legs up there.
Chilling out.
Chilling out, all right.
They're doing the full job, just not getting paid for it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
it's
really
good.
great idea.
That's good stuff.
One idea that you need to come up with to turn things around in this country is get your football team off the bottom of the ladder, because they stink
mate,
at the moment, Albo.
Mate, I travel right across the country. I was in Rockhampton yesterday. I come to Perth to get away from rugby
You think
league
I'll be safe
questions.
there?
No, we're having a shocker. We sacked the coach last
Yeah.
week. There's a chance, mate, that you might get a call up. Even AFL people,
Wow,
I think, are
mate.
recruiting in.
They're that desperate.
Yeah, the team.
There's a bloke. I mean, I'm a South tragic. I was on
Yeah.
the board for years. I looked at the team sheet yesterday, and there's some bloke I've never heard of who's probably been called up from, mascot A grade
Yeah.
team or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Because they've lost all of our back line.
Yeah.
Have been wiped out. Literally, there are 9, and there's only 7 in a
First-team
back
players,
line.
yeah.
There are 9 of our first pick backline players.
All I'm hearing is excuses.
There are
Um,
excuses. There is a silver
They
lining
are.
there.
That's all we've got.
You don't need to know much about the NRL other than Wayne Bennett has been the greatest coach
Yes.
he's ever coached.
Yes.
Correct.
He's going back to Redfern.
We hope so.
Is he?
We hope so. The super coach. The man's a genius.
Does Russell Crowe still own the Rabbitohs?
Russell owns a portion of the Rabbitohs, and he's off overseas. I think he's in Budapest at the moment.
Oh, yeah, they film a lot of stuff there.
Doing a film.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So he's over there, and it's a good thing that he's over there because I wouldn't want to see Russell in the dressing room with some of the performances that have taken place.
Not with his gladiator sword. He'd be all over the place, wouldn't he?
There'd be thumbs down.
Yes, it would
and
be.
some of the defensive
throw
efforts.
Them to the Lions.
Let me tell you.
Hey, Albo, I was just reading an article before to say speculation. We're talking about speculation on wedding plans or when it could take place and possibly where it could take place.
The Australian royal wedding.
The royal wedding.
We're talking about yours, Albo. Yeah.
You don't have to give us too much other than can you have it at Kirribilli and or Canberra, or is that...
Oh, like a home wedding?
Yeah, or is that like frowned upon? Do you have to look elsewhere, like the Marrickville Tennis Club?
I don't know, but the Marrickville Tennis Club are pitched up, let me tell you. John Howard's daughter or son got married at Kirribilli.
So
that'd be nice.
The Governor General's son or daughter, I think it might have been got married, or might have even been grandson or granddaughter got married recently at Yarralumla. But we haven't made a decision yet.
Are you tempted
the
just to run
we're
away?
So busy. Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
we are.
I can see that appeal.
I've got to say,
because there's just so much going on.
But I think Jodie's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hayden, would frown.
Do you call them Mr. and Mrs. Hayden?
That. No.
Okay, just checking.
No, not at all. Funnily enough, Jodie's father's name is Bill. Believe it or not, Bill Hayden.
Bill Hayden.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah, great name in politics.
They're great people, also great South Sydney people.
Oh, okay.
We're all having a bad
you're
winter.
having a bad one. With the guest list, I don't know, me, Nat and Nathan will be invited. That's a given.
So if you're on the mantelpiece, you're automatically
that's
invited,
done.
right?
You're commentating as it goes through.
If you need an MC, we're a pretty good team.
Oh,
is
yeah.
always saying.
It'll get loose real quick, as you know.
Yeah. But that's what you want, right?
But is there... you have to invite dignitaries, don't you?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh, cool.
It's our wedding.
That's
cool. It's not a event. It's not an official thing.
It's not a state dinner.
No, we're paying for it.
But like, do you have a favourite world leader?
We're paying for it. We can invite whoever we want.
Do you have a favourite world leader that you might want to invite?
Oh, there's a few, but I don't.
Do you have like world leader besties?
There's quite a few, but I don't think I'll be doing that.
G at the moment, I tell you.
No. Probably Justin Trudeau.
I was going to say, he seems like he'd be fun.
Very, very well.
Yeah.
So Justin would be good fun.
Yeah. All right.
He's a good
we'd
fellow,
love to meet him.
all the way from Canada.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be that sort of event. We'll invite people that we want to have there.
That's that's
obviously
nice to hear.
you guys.
That's
a given. Given you're still on the mantelpiece.
We've got that on record. Thank you. Nathan, Nat and Sean, or should I say Albo, Nat and Sean.
It's got a ring to it, hasn't it, Albo?
It
Prime
does.
Minister in the house.
It does. You don't need two Nathans, really.
No. And the one thing about you know more about music than any of us, so that would be a real advantage to our Premier show.
That is true.
Hey, we want to talk to you about a few
just
things.
giving you a critique about the competition you've got coming up.
Don't tell anybody the
later
answers.
on. I'm not going to tell them what it is, but
one of your favourites straight
Some
off the
bangers.
top.
But there's a couple of pretty ordinary selections in there.
Switch on, switch off.
Are
a
you
little
thinking
later this
here?
morning.
I'm thinking right there.
Yeah, round two.
Right there.
Not happy with round
Round two, very ordinary.
But you know, once you hear them straight away,
I know,
people
they're
will
catchy.
start.
You do. People will know them, and there'll be a bit of movement. There's a hint for you, listeners.
That's
Okay.
right.
A
Hard-hitting political questions. Here we go, Sean.
Well, a lot's been said, particularly in the last couple of weeks, gender-based violence, and everyone's been talking about it. Now, you went to a rally where you wanted to speak. People were having a bit of a dip at you then.
Yeah.
You know, domestic violence is obviously a big one part of that. It makes up a big percentage of that kind of stuff. Why are we not moving forward?
Look, this is a question for the whole of our society. Governments need to do more, but we need to do more as a community. This isn't something that governments alone can solve. When a woman is dying once every 4 days
it's
on
extraordinary.
average, it is a national crisis. And, there's a range of explanations for that. And there's a lot of debate about it. One thing that's very clear is that the role of the devices that we all have are promoting often violent pornography aimed at aimed at young people.
Yep.
They don't have to go searching for it. It pops onto their screens. It is misogynistic in the way that it portrays women. Mm-hmm. And I think it's changing some of those attitudes. We need to have respectful relationships. That's one of the issues that was raised in the Victorian Royal Commission that reported in 2016. But this is just a terrible situation.
It's a scourge. There's no doubt about it.
It is an absolute scourge.
You know, but there needs to be. It's not any one thing. It's not. There's not an easy solution, and I think everybody understands that. And it's a long-term solution. Things aren't going to change dramatically, but there are things that can happen around violent offenders being allowed to go out on bail and then just going back and reoffending.
That was a big one.
There has to be an improvement that can be made there, and quickly, surely.
Absolutely. And one of the things that the state and territory leaders, including Premier Cook, will be coming back in the next quarter, so in the next couple of months, we'll be having an examination across the board about the legal and justice systems. No, but you can't change the law.
I know,
at a meeting.
What happened in Sydney when two young men lost their lives in coward punches, and they changed the rules immediately. There were lockouts in Sydney. There was decisive action, and we're talking one woman every 4 days and nothing's happening.
Look, we do need decisive action. We have put in place immediately the $5,000 leaving violence payments. That'll make a difference. We also are looking at how do we get more housing built for emergency accommodation so women and children escaping domestic violence have somewhere to go. That was part of our Housing Australia Future Fund that was held up, was for 4,000 additional homes. So we're doing as well the review of social media, online issues. How do we get the rubbish off that shouldn't be on there?
Yeah, because everybody says then it's, you've got the right to be able to...
Censorship and,
it's not China, that...
Yeah.
Freedom comes with responsibility.
That's really so hard.
And it is a difficult issue, though, and you need to have legislation for some of these measures. We have 8 different jurisdictions, with different laws. One of the things we need to have is more community workers. My government has funded 500. The first 2 payments has gone to the states and territories. One of the issues they're having is finding skilled workers to
work in
do
the
those
field.
jobs. To do those jobs, it's a
tough game.
It
takes extraordinary sorts of people to do it.
It's draining.
Yeah, that's right.
Dealing with what are often incredibly difficult circumstances.
Albo, the other one that you just talked about, the housing being provided if people are needing to leave that domestic violence situation. The housing crisis is bloody real, and that's a big thing with inflation.
And it's not going anywhere.
We're competitively having to pay more to either build a house, buy a house, or rent one in particular. How do you solve that? Originally, it was 1.2 million houses over the 5 years, but we're not going to be able to get that because we don't have the manpower, really. That's
and
the
we're
case.
seeing building companies collapse.
If you see in today's budget announcement is also about increased incentives for apprentices in construction. So we'll provide that incentive so that we deal with it, an extension of our fee-free TAFE, but also providing that financial support. In addition to that, as part of the migration program, targeting construction workers and people with those skills that we need, our carpenters, our electricians, our people from the
problem with the migration program is there's nowhere for them to live when they get here, unless they literally build their house as they arrive.
Because they're just adding to the amount of people that need a house.
Yeah, but we're putting massive funding in. The last time I was here in Perth, we turned the first sod on a construction site, not that far from here. In inner Perth as well. Substantial build that the Cook government, I'll be with Roger in a little while, in a few hours, again talking up what we're doing with that support, working with the state government here, but working with state and territory governments right across the board. We've got $25 billion we're putting into housing across the board, social housing, incentives for the private sector to have build to rent, the emergency accommodation, all of these measures we are doing. We're providing incentive for better planning laws so that you get higher density where it's appropriate as well. We want to look at issues like land release, how we do that. We look at the way the industry is built as well. How do we get the growth in the regional centres? We want jobs and housing in our regional centres as well is
but
really
even the
important.
major regional centres in WA, at least, there's rental.
There's rental crisis everywhere.
Well,
because how are you going to get them built? How are we going to get these places built?
Well, we have a plan to do that. To have
are you lifting a hammer? What's going on?
to have the workers. Both
like
from
how quickly
the
can they
skills
get
that
it
we
done
need.
though? Like, as people are saying, they're going to rental home opens. There's another 40 parties there. If you've got a dog, you don't have a hope, because even though it's not legal to discriminate against somebody with a pet, that they're going to pick the people that don't, because there's another 39 applicants that don't. And people literally, they have the means, they've got jobs, they're great candidates to rent a house. They can't find something.
Well, what we can do is to provide the funding. We're doing that. We can provide the incentives for Australians to be trained in that work, and we're doing that as well. Fee-free TAFE has made an enormous difference.
Slowly.
But if you look at what is occurring in that area, I was in talk about remote places. I was in Alice Springs last week. And on site, 2 young apprentices, Indigenous apprentices, doing apprenticeships in construction as a direct result of our fee-free TAFE that is providing that incentive for the employer as well as the employee to undertake a trade.
I'm not too sure how 2 people are going to get it done like that. They'll be wanting to be pretty good at the saw.
That's been
That's just an
replicated.
example,
That's being replicated right around the country. I've been to TAFEs here in WA as well. I think I've been to 3 in the last 6 months, where people are undertaking that training in those areas of skills shortage, and the numbers are going up for people who are becoming carpenters, getting involved in those areas. That's what you can do. You can't solve it overnight.
That's the problem, isn't it? Because there are people literally saying, we have nowhere to live. And for them, it's an immediate problem, but there's no immediate solution.
Well, absolutely. What you can do, though, is when you identify the problem that was there, it would have been better if something had happened over the previous decade, but it didn't. But it didn't. You didn't have. The Commonwealth said, well, housing, that's someone else's problem.
Priority.
That's just state and territory governments.
And now it's come back to
government haven't had that approach. We have 17 different measures worth a total of $25 billion. And we'll have some more in incentives in next Tuesday's budget.
All right, next Tuesday's the day.
I've got one small quick...
Sean, he's got a breakfast
I just want to ask you about there's been a Senate inquiry into the major grocery chains. What's going to be the outcome? Can you actually go at them with the hammer? Hey, settle down with how much money you're taking off everybody. We know broccoli's not worth that much.
Well, the HECS...
or broccolini, more importantly.
the broccoli, you're a broccolini guy.
You're a broccolini
on the
guy.
broccolini index, things are out of control, Albo.
I'm with you on broccolini versus broccoli.
For sure.
That's because we're fancy.
Well, look at this fancy studio we're in here.
It's out of control, isn't
it? Can you... Do you have any power to pull them into line?
The HCCC certainly do, and they're doing an inquiry as well. We've had the Senate inquiry. We've had Dr. Craig Emerson look at it. One of the interesting things about the inflation figures that have come out is that already I think the focus is having an impact on prices. Not as much as we would like, but there's a focus on it.
Slowed it down.
What you can do is have greater transparency as well. I think people will understand that from time to time, because of weather events, droughts, etc.
And with fresh produce, it fluctuates. It depends on it's supply and demand, but there is no problem with supply.
What people are upset about,
and the farmers are saying they're not making any money.
Exactly, is where farmers selling their product for X dollars for $1, and all of a sudden at the checkout it's $2 or $3.
The markup is not.
The markup
realistic.
is not on. So you need that transparency. We want a better deal for farmers, but we want, importantly, a better deal for people at the checkout as well. And what we've said at the moment, the supermarkets have a voluntary code of conduct. Well, you know, hilarious. That isn't really working too well. So we're looking at whether you mandate that as well. Yeah. And the ACCC could be given the power to do that.
Hey, mate, we really appreciate your time coming in. What are we going to do for the next 2 hours? It's just going to be Nat myself.
Quite impressive stunt, Nathan, though, to be honest.
You could, well, I'll leave a playlist. Yeah.
It'll be interesting, actually. There'll be some new stuff. It'll be all over the place.
I know. You have very eclectic taste.
It won't include the rubbish you've got at
when we play Switch On, Switch Off.
Song number 4.
Yes, the round 2.
Seriously.
He's not happy with it.
It's pretty good, Albo.
Yeah.
No, it's rubbish,
going to be great. Tune in. It'll be good.
Yeah. We appreciate your time, as always. Thank you so much for coming in, Albo.
Thanks very much.
Nathan, Nat and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.